the quality is not there as well. It's like a whole mishmash of problems coming into the melting pot.
Are the senior players, Sim? Are the senior players, and dare I say it, players like Sonny, are they pulling their weight enough?
Well, they're not. Of course they're not. I mean, Sonny, obviously, before the Liverpool game was playing quite well, I thought, in some games. But unfortunately, in the last 2 games, they haven't been able to do it. But again, they're trying to probably they're covering a lot of issues. They're also very tired. They're also overplayed. There's a lot of issues. It's not just like one thing. It's not just the injuries. It's such a mishmash of issues, which I think whatever he does right now, when you... The number one thing in football, in my opinion, right? The number one thing that gets you to compete is not tactics and all these things. Yes, that helps, but first of all, you have to be physically ready and physically on par with your opponent. If you can't run, that's going to massively hamper you. And this team at the moment, they're very much struggling with those physical aspects.
What about a player like Bentancur? You know, I'm a massive advocate of Lucas Bergvall. I think he's going to be a sensational player. I looked at him against Villa, and if I'm a Villa fan and Tottenham are 1-0 up, for example, and you're a bit frustrated, Lucas Bergvall should have been booked inside the first 10 minutes. He made like maybe 5 or 6 fouls, a lot of them cynical. And
because he's running around like he's an inexperienced player.
100%. Sorry, what I was going to say was, but what you need in that scenario is someone with bags of experience to give him a tap on the shoulder and say, you know, calm down a little bit, right? He's 19. He's just turned 19, so he's going to make mistakes. I love Lucas Bergvall. I think he's going to be brilliant. I'm not sure what his best position is, but I think he's going to be sensational in a couple of years. But Ronnie Bentancur doesn't have the excuse of 2,000 minutes in his legs, right? So it's not just Sonny, by the way. There's plenty of examples of the more experienced players, and that's why I'm kind of at this point, for me personally, I'm all in on this youth revolution. But I literally want to see the vast majority of the senior players sunset. And I want to see us bring a couple of players in. I really do think that Daniel Levy and and the board and the money that we create, I do believe that you're going to see a club record signing in the summer. I do believe that if you are to get rid of Timo Werner, who's going to go back anyway, maybe Richarlison moves on because I think he needs a breather from Tottenham. And even if you were to sunset Sonny, you're going to free up another £500,000 a week off the wage bill, another £24 million a year. And then I think you're going to see Tottenham be able to not only break a club transfer record, but also start to have new names at the highest end of the club salary bill. And I genuinely I'm all for the youth revolution. Of course, you need to sprinkle in there some experienced players. But I look across our senior players right now on the roster, and I look at and I think these guys aren't it. These guys are not it. So, I think that for me, there's just when you look at that the senior names on the list, boys, I don't know if you agree or disagree, but I feel like there's not enough leadership. There's not enough support of the young on the pitch. And then I know you say, Sim, that Ange has got a track record in the past of developing youth, but I'm not seeing the development in the Tottenham spot.
I think Bergvall's a lot better than he was earlier in the season.
Well, yeah, I love him. I really do. I've got such high expectations and such high hopes for that guy. But I do think he needs people around him that are going to calm him down, because otherwise, if he stays on the pitch and continues what he's doing, we're going to finish the game with 10 men many times. I think he's got.
Will Bergvall be as good now, though, if he wasn't forced into it like he was because of the injuries?
That's regardless of the point. He's saying developed. But beginning of the season, Bergvall was...
That's been a key cog in his development.
Bergvall, beginning of the season, was playing Europa League games. He was doing all right, don't get me wrong. Some games he was struggling, like Galatasaray or whatever, and some games he was playing quite well. And he developed into a point where he got man of the match at home in Carabao Cup against Liverpool. Man of the match, scoring the winning goal.
Because he was forced into it.
That's development.
He was forced into it.
You can say he's forced into it. I think he would have got... Yeah, he was forced into it, but regardless, I think that was always the plan with Bergvall, to bed him in early on. He's come from a new league, Swedish league. He's 18 years of age, an 18-year-old kid, right? You always have to be careful with these kids, and that's what he was doing, Ange, and he was bedding him in slowly. He was starting him, though, regularly in games, which is more than a lot of other 18-year-old kids around the Premier League can say. Yeah, and yes, maybe he was forced into it, but I think he probably would have got more minutes anyway, regardless. Maybe not as many as he's got now. He's probably being overplayed now, but that's regardless of the situation. He probably would have got more minutes as the season went on, and he's now got to a stage where he's capable of performance like that against Liverpool. And yes, he's still 18 or 19 now, and he's obviously going to have inconsistencies. He's going to be over exuberant. He's going to make fouls. He's going to have to learn the game at this level. But I think he has been developing over the season, and he's gotten better and better. That's what I've seen.
If we were to stick with the plan that Postecoglou wanted and the plan that he was implemented, and without the injuries, we wouldn't have had that performance at Liverpool in the first leg. That would never have happened because he wouldn't have been developed in time. He was forced into development because of the injuries and to get minutes at that stage of the season.
It's no coincidence he's become a better player this season, in my opinion.
Yeah, because of injuries, and he's been forced to get more minutes.
I think he was developing. I think he was developing I think since he's come in, and I think you can say it's got nothing to do with Ange, but you can't. You can't say one thing and then the other. Either he gets credit for both and criticism for the other, or nothing at all. In my opinion, you're asking me who's he developed. I'm saying Bergvall's gotten better. You're saying it's just luck. I just disagree.
Well, even if it is that, Sim, that's one player.
Could you not make the argument though that the fact that Bergvall he's only been here 4 months.
Yeah.
It's difficult to say has he developed him because we didn't know what he was before he came here.
Well, I'm just basing on what I've seen from the beginning of the season to lately.
Well, but
is that not development?
Fair enough.
18-year-old kid, you know what I mean?
Listen, Sim. What I would say, mate, is welcome to the world of being in an isolated environment, mate. With me, with Daniel Levy, I am 100%
the day in the life of Sean. I'm living.
There's been a transfer during January. There's been a switch between Sean and Simeon.
Where are we going?
All right. I mean, Brian, do you think if let's say for argument's sake we get these players back now, we go on a run the Europa League, we eventually win it, does that save his job?
If he wins the Europa League, of course it's going to save his job. If he wins the Europa League, he will go down as one of the most successful managers in Spurs' history.
Is that a problem? Is that a problem, Brian? Though I've been calling it out. I've seen part of, do you want? Because I've seen channels saying, relegation is better for the mission, right? With regards to Daniel Levy and
just
trophy
madness.
And it's absolute madness. And trophy success, i.e. beating Liverpool and then going on to beat Newcastle, is actually now a bad thing when the movement was predicated on the idea that the reason why most people hate Daniel Levy, for the most part, is because of the lack of trophies. And suddenly winning a trophy became problematic. What I would ask you, Brian, I'm not asking you to subscribe or to deny that cause, but if you don't want Ange, and he still happens to be here at the end of the season, and in that time we happen to go on and win the Europa League, then that by itself, away from the Daniel Levy thing, what it does mean is that you have to give Ange another year, right? Because you can't sack a guy that's been the only deliverer of the most valuable trophy in Daniel Levy's tenure. And so park aside the Daniel Levy argument for a second.
It's a Ten Hag problem, isn't it?
It is a Ten Hag problem. Exactly that, Sim. Right. So park the Daniel Levy thing, but just if Ange was to be given the remainder of the season and in that time goes on to win the Europa League, then that surely means he stays for another year. But for me, I don't think you see anything necessarily that's going to improve in the output next season, because we've seen for the last 18 months, even when we didn't have the injury crisis that we did, and I know Sim's got loads of stats to show on that regard, but the stats without the injuries weren't exactly sensational either way, and we still had some horrendous outcomes. So, is winning a Europa League problematic for the Ange out movement?
It depends what way you look at it, sure. I think, Joe, what I think it's more of a problem for when I look at it for Levy out the movement. And the reason I say that is if we win that and get to the Champions League, we were told that we need Champions League revenue and Champions League money to bring in the players, to pay the wages, to do this, to do that. We've had Champions League regularly and not signed one Champions League elect player at the time. And we've had all the money, we've had all the... If Ange wins a trophy, you can't say anything about it. You can't... Listen, he wins the Europa League. He has brought success the biggest success in my life, or obviously we won it in '84, but I was 5 years old. It's the biggest trophy we would have won in modern history, definitely under Daniel Levy's tenure. It then becomes a problem if he stayed. Have I trust Ange Postecoglou with recruitment? Not really. But is that a Johan Lange thing? Is that a Daniel Levy thing? Because maybe Ange has wanted bigger, better players that we don't know about. But when it's come to the breakdown of the transfer fee, the wages, and it's been, nope, we're not even going to entertain that. This is the list you've got. We'll do this. But what I'm looking at now with the Europa League is we're talking about the fitness of the players. We're hearing Destiny's coming back and these players are coming back. If I was Ange Postecoglou, I would rest them as well. I wouldn't even play them against Manchester United like Destiny. I'd try and keep them wrapped in cotton wool and keep them, because the Premier League season's done. No matter where we finish, we're not getting seventh. We're not getting Europe via that method. It's about keeping those players
You
fit.
need match fitness, though.
But then you can manage their minutes nearer the time, can't you? We did this with Van der Ven against Augsburg, and then he's out for 3 games for whatever reason. If let's say Destiny and Van der Ven, and then 2 weeks later Romero's fit, I'd rather wait a few more weeks for the games just before the Euro. Keep them training, up their intensity, maybe some games behind closed doors. So when it comes to the regularity of Europa League, they go, right, wallop, in they come. All they come, and then we see. Because you know what's been happening with us, whether it be because of Ange's training, whether it be bad luck, whether it be freak ones like Vicario that you can't explain, it happens in games of football. Do we risk that happening when they come back and then they're out of the Europa League game or games, let's hope? So that's another question you get to when it comes to this. Vaj, if we had Van der Ven, Romero and Destiny fit for Man U, I wouldn't play them.